The Whispering Walls. In the small, forgotten town of Black Hollow, there stood an old, decrepit house at the end of a narrow, overgrown lane. The house had been abandoned for decades, its windows shattered, its roof sagging under the weight of time. No one dared to go near it, for the townsfolk whispered of the horrors that had taken place within its walls. One cold, moonless night, a young woman named Eliza arrived in Black Hollow. She was a writer, searching for inspiration for her next novel. The locals warned her to stay away from the house, but their warnings only fueled her curiosity. Determined to uncover the truth, she made her way to the forsaken dwelling. As Eliza stepped through the creaking front door, a chill ran down her spine. The air inside was thick with the scent of decay, and the walls seemed to pulse with a faint, rhythmic hum. She lit a lantern and began to explore the dusty, cobweb-filled rooms. In the living room, she found an old, tattered journal lying on the floor. The pages were filled with frantic scribbles, the handwriting growing increasingly erratic as she read on. The journal spoke of a family who had once lived in the house, a family that had been driven to madness by the whispers they heard in the walls. The final entry was a single sentence, scrawled in blood, there in the walls. Eliza's heart pounded as she closed the journal. She tried to convince herself that it was just a story, a product of someone's overactive imagination. But as she turned to leave, she heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper coming from the walls. She froze, her breath catching in her throat. The whisper grew louder, more insistent, until it became a cacophony of voices, all speaking at once. They were pleading, begging, screaming for release. Eliza's lantern flickered and went out, plunging her into darkness. Desperate to escape, she stumbled through the house, the voices growing louder with every step. She could feel them now, the walls closing in around her, the whispers becoming a physical force, pressing against her skin. She reached the front door and yanked it open, but it was no use. The house had her now. As the walls closed in, Eliza realized the terrible truth. The family had not been driven mad by the whispers. They had become the whispers. And now, she would join them, her voice added to the chorus of the damned, forever trapped within the whispering walls of the house on the lane. The next morning, the townsfolk found the house silent once more. They knew better than to investigate. But if you ever find yourself in Black Hollow and you dare to approach the old house at the end of the lane, listen closely. You might just hear Eliza's voice whispering to you from within the walls.